You know what it is, you know who it is, you know what we're doing. We are reading the 48 Laws of Power. We are now on day 10. What do you guys think of the book so far? So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I know a lot of you guys, more than half of you guys, are not subscribed to my channel. Why watch and not subscribe, but you tune in every day? Now I see it. Like when people used to say back in the day, I would be like, why are they being so annoying? Why are they being so annoying and pushy? It's a lot of work, y'all. Y'all see the back end work. It's a lot of work posting these videos every single day. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, I know about 80% of you guys are not from the United States. Welcome. Welcome. But hey guys, if you guys are using my channel to learn English, I would go ahead and purchase this book. If you want to read along, if you want to take notes in this book, highlight, blah, 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 right? Now let's go ahead and get into it. We are now at Law 10. Let's see how, it's pretty short, guys, so I'm not going to be on live for a really long time. But let's go ahead and get into it, all right? Law 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Judgment. You can die from someone else's misery. Emotional states are as infectious as diseases. You may feel you are helping the drowning man, but you are only precipitating your own disaster. The unfortunate sometimes draw misfortune on themselves. They will also draw it on you. Associate with the happy and fortunate instead. Transgression of the law. Born in Limerick, Ireland in 1818, Marie Gilbert came to Paris in the 1840s to make, hey, welcome, to make her fortune as a dancer and performer. Taking the name Lola Montez, her mother was of distant Spanish descent. She claimed to be a flamenco dancer from Spain. By 1845, her career was languishing, and to survive, she became a courtesan, quickly one of the more successful in Paris. Only one man could salvage Lola's dancing career, Alexander Desjardins. I don't know. Owner of the newspaper with the largest circulation in France. And investigating his habits, she discovered that he went riding every morning. An excellent horsewoman herself, she rode out one morning and accidentally ran into him. Ladies, how many of us have plotted on a man and accidentally bumped into someone or accidentally positioned ourselves so they could talk to us? I know I have, and I've been successful, okay? But anyways. Soon they were riding together every day. A few weeks later, Lola moved into his apartment. For a while, the two were happy together. With Desjardins' help, Lola began reviving her dancing career. Despite the risk to his social standing, Desjardins told his friends that he would marry her in the spring. Put a ring on it, girl. That's how you do it, guys. That's how you accurately do it, okay? You know the plan. You got to execute it, do action. You know how it is. Lola had never told him that she eloped at the age 19 with an Englishman and was still legally married. Ooh, that's tea. That's tea. Although Dujardin was deeply in love, his life started to slide downhill. Wonder why? His fortunes and business changed, and influential friends began to avoid him. One night, hey Akash, welcome to the live. How are you doing today, Akash? But anyways, one day Dujardin was invited to a party and attended by some of the wealthiest young men in Paris. Lola wanted to go too, but he would not allow it. Y'all know those lovers' quarrels. They had their first quarrel. And Dujardin attended the party by himself. There, hopelessly drunk, he insulted an influential drama critic, Jean-Baptiste Rosamond de Beauvois. Like, isn't anybody else? But it feels like French names kind of like sound alike. Like it's a lot of Jean-Baptiste and, you know. Anyways. Jean-Baptiste Rosamond de Beauvois perhaps because of something the critic had said about Lola. Oh, okay, guys. So the critic had said something about this man's woman, and he went and offended him. The following morning, Bouvalone challenged him to a duel. Bouvalone was one of the best pistol shots in France. Oh man. Oh man, be careful what you wish for, y'all. Be careful of the fights that you pick with people. Dujarrier tried to apologize, but the duel took place, and he was shot and killed. Damn. Thus ended his life of one of the most promising young men of Paris society. Devastated, Lola left Paris. Wow, guys. That's how quick your life can change. That's how quick your life can change because you decide to like react out of like anger to things instead of like reacting out of like logic. Um, in 1846, Lola Montez found herself in Munich where she decided to woo and conquer King Ludwig of Bavaria. Man, this girl is... Hey, I can't hate the player, man. Cannot hate the player. The best way to Ludwig, she discovered, was through his aide-de-camp, Count Otto von Rickberg, a man with a fondness for pretty girls. Oh, which story? I'm at Law 10, 48 Laws of Power. This is a transgression. So this is talking about Lola. Oh, well, her real name was Marie Gilbert, but she changed it to Lola Montez, okay? So one day when the Count was breakfasting at an outdoor cafe, Lola rode on her horse and was accidentally thrown from the saddle and landed at Rakeberg's feet. If you guys remember, that's exactly what she did with old boy Dujarrier. The Count rushed to help her and was enchanted. He promised to introduce her to Ludwig. Man, this girl be plotting. Rakeberg arranged an audience with the king for Lola, but when she arrived in the anteroom, she could hear the king saying he was too busy to meet a favor-seeking stranger. Lola pushed aside the sentries and entered his room anyway. In the process, the front of her dress somehow got torn, perhaps by her, perhaps by one of the sentries, and to the astonishment of all, most especially the king, her bare breasts were brazenly exposed. Lola was granted her audience with Ludwig. 55 hours later, she made her debut on the Bavarian stage. The reviews were terrible, but that did not stop Ludwig from arranging more performances. Wow, guys. That is so crazy. Oh, story ain't over yet. Story is not over yet. Her whole titties were exposed, guys. And she still has shows. Ludwig was, in his own words, bewitched by Lola. He started to appear in public with her on his arm. And then he bought and furnished an apartment for her on one of Munich's most fashionable boulevards. Although he had been known as a miser and was not given the flights of fancy, he started to shower Lola with gifts and write poetry. This is like somebody will literally come into your life accidentally, but they place themselves there and literally take over your whole life, guys. You got to be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Okay. And he started to shower Lola with gifts and write poetry for her. Now his favored mistress, he catapulted to fame and fortune overnight. It's a lot. It's a lot of people's. I'm not even gonna talk about who, but it is a lot of people's what is it called, career that happens that way. Let's just say that. Lola began to lose her sense of proportion. One day when she was out riding, an elderly man rode ahead of her, a bit too slowly for her liking. Unable to pass him, she began to slash him with her riding crop. Oh my God. But y'all, can you even imagine like riding horses nowadays and you're in your lane? You got to pass somebody else's horse on your horse. And like the road rage would go crazy because like it's not like you could talk crap in like the confines of your car and nobody's going to hear you. These people can definitely hear you when you're riding past. But anyways, on another occasion, she took her dog, unleashed out for a stroll. The dog attacked a passerby, but instead of helping the man get the dog away, she whipped him with a leash. Wow, that's wild. Lola, girl. Incidents like this infuriated the stolid citizens of Bavaria, but Ludwig stood by Lola and even had her naturalized as a Bavarian citizen. The king's entourage tried to wake him up in the dangers of the affair, but those who criticized Lola were summarily fired. And that's what happens, guys. When that man or that person starts standing 10 toes down, despite what everybody else says, and starts making those actions, and like, beware. I would stay clear of their way, because while Bavarians who loved their king now outwardly disrespected him, Lola was made a countess, had a new palace built for her, and began to dabble in politics, advising Ludwig on policy. She was the most powerful force in the kingdom. Her influence in the king's cabinet continued to grow, and she treated the other ministers with disdain. As a result, riots broke out throughout the realm. A once peaceful land was now virtually in the grip of a civil war, and students everywhere were chanting, Rami Lola. Guys. Lola accidentally. Sorry. Focus. Yes. Let me hurry up and finish this story. Now I have to do this really quickly. Okay, let me finish the story. Are y'all listening? By February of 1848, Ludwig was finally unable to withstand the pressure. With great sadness, he ordered Lola to leave Bavaria immediately. She left, but not until she was paid off. For the next 5 weeks, the Bavarians' wrath was turned against their formerly beloved king. In March of that year, he was forced to abdicate. That's what would have happened to you. That's what will happen to you. Listening to the wrong person. Lola Montez moved to England. More than anything, she needed respectability. And despite being married, she still not arranged a divorce from the Englishman that she had wed years before. And this girl was doing all of this stuff and was still married. Y'all, that's crazy. But she set her sights on George Trafford Heald, a promising young officer who was the son of an influential barrister. Although he was 10 years younger than Lola and could have chosen a wife amongst the prettiest and wealthiest young girls of the English society, Heald fell under her spell. What was she doing? What was she doing where all of these men constantly fell under her spell? They were married in 1849, even though she was still married to an Englishman. Are y'all following? Soon arrested on the charge of bigamy, she skipped bail, and she and Heald made their way to Spain. They quarreled horribly, and on one occasion, Lola slashed him with a knife. This girl is crazy. Finally, she drove him away. Returning to England, she found he had lost his position in the army. Ostracized from the English society, he moved to Portugal, where he lived in poverty. After a few months, his short life ended with the boating incident. That is crazy. Like, these men will fall under her spell, and she will wreck their life. A few years later, the man who published Lola Montez's autobiography went bankrupt. In 1853, Lola moved to California, where she met and married a man named Pat Hull. Their relationship was as stormy as all the others, and she left Hull for another man. He took to drink and fell into a deep depression that lasted until he died. 4 years later, still a relatively young man, at the age of 41, Lola gave away her clothes and finery and turned to God. She toured America, lecturing on religious topics, dressed in white and wearing a halo-like white headgear. She died 2 years later in 1861. Guys, can you believe that? I would steer clear of Lola. Someone like Lola in your life, just everybody around you is always something going wrong in their life around them. I don't want to be around you. So, interpretation. Are you ready? Lola Montez attracted men with her wheels, but her power over them went beyond the sexual. It was through the force of her character that she kept her lovers enthralled. Men were sucked into her maelstrom she churned up around her. They felt confused, upset, but the strength of the emotions she stirred also made her feel more alive. As is often the case of infection, the problem would only arise over time. Lola's inherent instability would begin to get under her lover's skin. They would find themselves drawn into her problems, but their emotional attachment would make them want to help her. This was a crucial point of disease, for Lola Montez could not be helped. Her problems were too deep. Once the lovers identified with them, he was lost. He would find himself embroiled in quarrels. The infection would spread to his family and friends, or even in the case of Ludwig, to an entire nation. The only solution would be to cut her off or to suffer eventual collapse. The infecting character type is not restricted to women. It has nothing to do with gender. It stems from the inward instability that radiates outward, drawing disaster upon itself. There is almost a desire to destroy and unsettle. You could spend a lifetime studying the pathology of infecting characters, but don't waste your time. Just learn the lesson. When you suspect that you are in the presence of an infector, don't argue. Don't try to help. Don't pass the person on to your friends, or you will become enmeshed. Flee the infector's presence or suffer the consequences. This is what I need to take. This is advice that I need to take. I be wanting to help everybody, guys. Yon Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. I do not know the man I should avoid so soon that spared Cassius. Such men as he never at heart's ease whilst they behold a greater than themselves, and therefore they are very dangerous. Julius Caesar, William Shakespeare, 1564 to 1616. I have no idea what that said. Honestly, Shakespearean English is not English to me. That's Chinese. All right, keys to power, guys. Ooh. Okay, I gotta leave soon. So I gotta hurry up and read this. Okay, let me read really fast. All right, you ready? Keys to power. Those misfortunes among us have been brought down by circumstances beyond their control deserve all the help and sympathy we can give them. But there are others who are not born misfortune or unhappiness, but who draw it upon themselves by the destructive actions and unsettling effect on others. Thank you, Frances. Thank you. All right, ready? By others. It would be a great thing if we could raise them up, change their patterns, but more often than not, it is their patterns that end up getting inside and changing us. The reason is simple, guys. Humans are extremely susceptible to the moods, emotions, and even the ways of thinking of those whom they spend their time with. That's why people always say the 5 people that you spend the most time with is who you become. The incurably unhappy and unstable have a particularly strong infecting power because their characters and emotions are so intense. They often present themselves as victims, making it difficult at first to see their miseries as self-inflicted. Before you realize the real nature of their problems, you have been inflicted by them. Understand this. In the game of power, the people you associate with are critical. The risk of associating with infectors is that you will waste valuable time and energy trying to free yourself through the kind of guilt by association. You will also suffer in the eyes of others. Hi. I don't know what that says, but hey. Never underestimate the dangers of infection. There are many kinds of infectors to be aware of, but one of the most insidious is the sufferer from chronic dissatisfaction. Cassius, the Roman conspirator against Julius Caesar, had the discontent that comes from deep envy. He simply could not endure the presence of anyone of greater talent. Probably because Caesar sensed this man's interminable sourness, he passed him up for the position of the first praetorship and gave the position to Brutus instead. Cassius brooded and brooded, his hatred for Caesar becoming pathological. Brutus himself, a devoted Republican, disliked Caesar's dictatorship. He had the patience to wait. He would have become the first man in Rome after Caesar's death and could have undone the evil that the leader had wrought. But Cassius infected himself. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, okay. Guys, I have to finish in literally like 6 minutes or less. Okay. Where was I at? Just like Caesar's dictatorship, he had the patience to wait, he would have become the first man in Rome after Caesar's death and could have undone the evil that the leader had wrought. But Cassius infected himself with his own rancor, bending his ear daily with the tales of Caesar's evil. He finally won Brutus over to the conspiracy. It was the beginning of a great tragedy. However, how many misfortunes could have been avoided had Brutus learned the fear of power of the infection. There is only one solution to infection: quarantine. But by the time you recognize the problem, it is often too late. Alola Montez overwhelmed you by her forceful personality. Cassius intrigues you by confiding nature and the depth of his feelings. How can you protect yourself against insidious viruses? The answer lies in judging people on the effects that they have on the world and not on the reasons they give for their problems. Image of virus, unseen it. Infectors can recognize by the misfortune they draw on themselves, their turbulent past, their long line of broken relationships. Oh, wait, guys, sorry. A virus unseen, it enters your pores without warning, spreading silently and slowly. Before you are aware of the infection, it is deep inside of you. The answer lies in judging people on the effects they have on the world and not on the reasons they give their problems. Infectors can be recognized by the misfortune they draw upon themselves, their turbulent past, their long line of broken relationships, their unstable careers, and their force of their character, which sweeps you up and makes you lose your reason. Be forewarned of these signs of infectors. Learn to the discontent in their eye. Most important of all, do not take pity. Do not enmesh yourself in trying to help. The infector will remain unchanged and you will be unhinged. The other side of infection is equally valid and perhaps more readily understood. There are people who attract happiness to themselves, to their good cheer, natural buoyancy, and intelligence. They are the source of pleasure, and you must associate with them to share prosperity they draw upon themselves. This applies to more than just the good cheer and success. All positive qualities can infect us. Talleyrand had many strange and intimidating traits, but most agreed that he surpassed all Frenchmen in graciousness, aristocratic charm, and wit. Indeed, he came from one of the noblest families in the country, and despite his belief in democracy in the French Republic, he retained his courtly manners. His contemporary Napoleon was in many ways the opposite. A peasant from Corsica, taciturn and ungracious, even violent, there was no one Napoleon admired more than Talleyrand. He envisioned his minister's way with people, his wit, his ability to charm women, and as best as he could, he kept Talleyrand around him, hoping to soak up the culture that he lacked. There was no doubt Napoleon changed as his rules continued. Many of the rough edges were smoothed by the constant association with Talleyrand. Use of the positive side of the emotional osmosis to take advantage. If, for example, you are miserly by nature, you will never go beyond a certain limit. Only generous souls attain greatness. Associate with the generous then, and they will infect you. Opening up everything is tight and restricted in you. If you are gloomy, gravitate to the cheerful. If you are prone to isolation, force yourself to befriend the gregarious. If you're never associate with those who share your defects. They will reinforce everything that holds you back. Only create associations with positive affinities. Make this a rule of your life, and you will benefit more than all from all therapy of the world. Authority. Recognize the fortune so that you may choose their company, and the unfortunate so that you may avoid them. Misfortune is usually the crime of folly, and among those who suffer from there, it is no malady more contagious. Never open your door to the least of the misfortunes, for if you do it, many others will follow it in its train. Do not die of another's misery. Balthazar Gracian. 1601 to 1658. Reversal. This law admits no reversal. Its application is universal. There is nothing to be gained by associating with those who infect you with their misery. There is only power and good fortune to be obtained by associating those with the fortunate. Ignore this law at your own peril. Okay, guys? There are 3 little quotes. Let's see if I can read it really fast, okay? The nut and the campanile. A nut found itself carried by a crow into the top of the tall campanile, and falling into a crevice succeeded in escaping its dreaded fate. It then besought the wall to shelter it by appealing it to the grace of God and praising its height and the beauty, the noble tone of its bells. Alas, it went on. As I have not been able to drop beneath the green branches of my old father, and to lie in the fallow earth covered by his fallen leaves, do you at least not abandon me when I found myself in the beak of the cruel cow? I made a vow that if I escaped, I would end my life in a little hole. At these words, the wall, moved with compassion, was content to shelter the nut in the spot where it had fallen. Within the short time, the nut burst open. Its roots reached in beneath the crevices in the stones and began to push them apart. Its shoots pressed up towards the sky. The soon rose above the building, and its twisted roots grew thicker. They began to thrust the walls apart and force the ancient stones from their old places. Then the wall, too late and in vain, bewild by the cause of its destruction, and in short time it fell in return. Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519. In his own time, Simon Thomas was a great doctor. I remember that I happened to meet him one day at the home of a rich old consumptive. He told his patient when discussing ways to cure him that one means was to provide occasions for me to enjoy his company. He could then fix his eyes on the freshness of my countenance and his thoughts on the overflowing cheerfulness and vigor of my young manhood. By filling all his senses with the flowers of my youth, of his condition might improve. He forgot to add that mine might get worse. Montaigne, 1533, 1592. Many things are to be said about the infectious. Sleepiness can be infectious, and yawning as well. In large scale strategy, when the enemy is agitated and shows an inclination to rush, do not mind in the least. Make a show of the complete calmness, and the enemy will be taken by this and will become relaxed. You infect their spirit, and you can infect them with a carefree, drunken like spirit with boredom or even weakness. Okay, I gotta go. Bye, guys. Thanks.